So this is my blog post for the organizational assessment intervention blog. I'm just going to go ahead and answer the questions listed. The first one says, what were the findings from your individual sanctuary environmental assessment and staff practice surveys? So after viewing those surveys, I was able to notice kind of a trend in how many of the indirect and the direct care, and as well as the supervisor staff, felt about the company. They felt that people weren't really nice to the clients. They were kind of rude to the clients. The place didn't have very good training, stuff like that. I also really noticed the time difference from when people work there. So a lot of the direct and the indirect were there working with the company like 10 plus years, which is a lot longer than the supervisor who had said they'd only been there like a year or two. They stated that the staff weren't friendly with the clients, and they were kind of demeaning and talked down to them a little bit. And they kind of also stated that the setup and the cleanliness of the agency was terrible as well. The question, what were the findings from the sanctuary environmental assessment? The answer to that is more based on how they feel about where they're working. So when I go back and I look, let me go back and open one of them up. So when I go back and look at it, you can kind of see more about their mixed racial heritage. Most of them have had master's degree or have master's degrees. And then a lot of them had said that they were familiar with the sanctuary model, but didn't really have any training on it. And then there was even in the supervisors survey, they stated that they weren't familiar with the model at all. So it seems like most of them can attest to the fact that the training there isn't very effective, if they even have training at all, along with the community of like nonviolence, the commitment to nonviolence, had stated that there weren't really clear set boundaries or rules for staff members. And a lot of them just kind of said that they didn't want to answer to the question of feeling unsafe at the facility. My proposed intervention or agency change, I think my main worry is effective onboarding and training. So it would be beneficial to put money and resources into a new onboarding program that kind of trains the new staff more effectively. So when it comes to the sanctuary model, teaching that, and then as well as having like a couple-week training, as well as shadowing of other direct care staff to make sure that everybody gets what they need when it comes to being a new hire at this agency. The next question is, how has your proposed intervention agency change been shaped by your assessment findings? So obviously I saw a lot about clients talking demeaningly towards, or staff talking demeaningly towards clients. And I also saw a lot about like how the center's not clean, and they feel they haven't been trained properly. So taking into account how the staff feel about their training is extremely important. And a lot of them even stated that training would be beneficial to them in this instance. How is your proposed intervention agency change connected to one of the 7 sanctuary commitments? These commitments are actually listed, but whenever the surveys were conducted, they had each commitment in mind. So they had nonviolence, they had emotional intelligence in mind, they had learning and responsibility and growth and change. And I really think that new onboard training could help with social learning. It could really help with a lot of them, but to me, social learning is important because you can understand what the clients are going through when it comes to the trauma that they've been through. Training for that is extremely important, and then as well as having open communication with your supervisors and your agency and stuff like that is also extremely important. So that way, when surveys like this are taken, you can understand, like you'd be willing to help your supervisor understand why you feel the way you feel without being penalized and anything like that. And then the last question states, how has this assignment prepared you for working for and within organizations as a social worker? So I can kind of see the kind of place I do and I don't want to work. And this assignment prepared me for this because I could see how the staff feel about this place of work, and I could understand where they're coming from, and I kind of understand what they could need. And as a social worker, that's important because you need to be able to help all communities, not just clients, but you can help the staff as well. So that's how this assignment has prepared me for being a social worker.